Would you like to learn how to interpret the King of Cups when it shows up in a reading? Stay tuned for 3 real-world examples. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In this video, we're diving deep into the King of Cups. I'll be showing you how I interpreted this card in 3 different readings so that you can more confidently interpret it when reading for yourself or others. In reading number 1, we'll look at whether a woman should continue seeing the man in her life. In reading number 2, we'll determine the outcome of a custody battle. And in reading number 3, we'll look at a brother-sister conflict concerning the fate of their ailing mother. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there's a link below. Kings are the wise, logical intellectuals of the tarot deck. The King of Cups is the king who is most connected to his intuition and his feelings. I like this card because I see him as one of the good guys of the deck. In the best-case scenario, the King of Cups is calm, kind, compassionate, caring, and in full control of his emotions. Because the King of Cups can balance his thoughts, emotions, and experience, he is considered to be very wise. He tells the truth and people trust him. He is tolerant and open-minded. He does not believe that he knows all of the answers. He makes wise, thoughtful, and fair decisions. The King of Cups is someone who listens attentively. He is very empathic, compassionate, and understanding of others, including people who are less fortunate. The King of Cups can represent a kind, stable, and emotionally mature leader. He is very aware of his emotions, but also knows how to keep them under control. He knows when to use logic and when to rely on his intuition. The King of Cups is also someone who is calm when there is a crisis. He gives people time to speak and also gives himself time to feel his emotions and make good decisions. He makes a great diplomat because he doesn't rush. Instead, he creates an atmosphere of tolerance and lets both sides be heard. He's not somebody who's going to jump to conclusions or fly off the handle if he gets angry. The King of Cups' personality tends to be quiet and modest rather than flashy when compared to his fellow kings. This is a really great card to pull if someone asks you about a potential romantic partner, boss, or community leader. When reading tarot, context is important, so the meaning can vary depending on where it shows up in a reading. If you want to take an in-depth look at this card's symbolism and history, which I highly recommend, please check out my video about the King of Cups in the link below. In the first reading, we'll use a 3-card spread to answer a question from someone I called Madison. The question was, I'm at a crossroads with a new man in my life and I'm not sure what to do. Should I continue seeing him? I've linked to the full reading in the comments. Card number 1 shows the strengths of the relationship. Madison drew the King of Cups. Card number 2 shows the weaknesses of the relationship. Madison drew the Page of Cups. Card number 3 shows the likely outcome of the relationship if things continue as they are. Madison drew the Knight of Cups. This is one of those readings where I wondered if Madison had thoroughly shuffled the deck. We have 3 of the 4 court cards and all are in the suit of cups. Cups are about love and emotions, so this is what you want to see in a relationship reading. However, that doesn't mean that the couple should stay together. Card number 1 shows the strengths of the relationship. Madison drew the King of Cups. If you were paying attention in the early part of this video, you'll recall that I listed a whole bunch of positive attributes to the King of Cups. He has the potential to be an excellent boyfriend for Madison. The King of Cups is someone who listens attentively. This is a great quality in a boyfriend, as one of the complaints that I often hear from my female friends is that their significant others don't listen to them. The King of Cups is a kind, stable, and emotionally mature leader. He's very aware of his emotions, but also knows how to keep them under control. I can see how this would appeal to Madison, as it would make her feel safe and protected. The King of Cups is also someone who is calm when there's a crisis. He wouldn't jump to conclusions if Madison came home late after being out with her friends. He would consider the facts and her feelings. The King of Cups' personality tends to be quiet and modest rather than flashy when compared to his fellow kings. His focus is on people and not power or possessions. So Madison's boyfriend has a lot of strength. He's mature, in touch with his emotions, listens carefully, and is able to balance his thoughts and emotions in a way that results in good decisions. He's also quiet and modest, something that an introvert like myself would highly appreciate. Card number 2 shows the weaknesses of the relationship. Madison drew the Page of Cups. Pages are the children of the tarot deck. The Page of Cups is the page who's most in touch with his emotions. The big weakness of the Page of Cups, as a boyfriend, is that they are immature and find it difficult to get control of their emotions. Picture what it would be like to date a sensitive 6-year-old who's asked to do something they don't want to do, such as clean up their room instead of play video games. Chances are you would not have a civil, balanced conversation like you'd have in the King of Cups. In this case, Madison's boyfriend might have a tantrum and resort to yelling, stomping his feet, or throwing things. He might withdraw from the situation and refuse to talk to her until she caved in and gave him back his video game control. One weakness is that Madison's boyfriend is immature. Another weakness is that the boyfriend is decidedly weird and enjoys being the center of attention. Look at him. He's on stage staring at a fish in a cup. Once again, let's think of a 6-year-old. They often want to be the center of attention. However, it can get embarrassing because they don't have the maturity to understand that listening to them talk about Pokemon cards for 2 hours straight is annoying. Madison might be embarrassed because he wants to be the center of attention and expects people to follow his interests rather than giving other people time to speak and participating in a conversation. Another issue is that the boyfriend might be too idealistic. You can see that he's dressed in a very flamboyant fashion. Maybe he has goals, such as to be a performer, that don't align with what Madison wants for her future. Finally, I don't think that Madison enjoys his sense of humor. For instance, he likes playing pranks and thinks that putting a fish in a cup is hysterical. Madison disagrees and wishes that he'd act more like an adult. We see lots of negatives, mostly based around her boyfriend's immaturity and childish behavior. Card number 3 shows the likely outcome of the relationship if things continue as they are. Madison drew the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is traditionally seen as the knight in shining armor. The Knight of Cups can be a boyfriend who's very nurturing. He would be very in tune with Madison's feelings and be openly expressive of his love for her. So that would bode well for the future. Knights represent people in their late teens and early 20s. I like to think of them as the fraternity boys of the deck. They have lots of ideas and testosterone, so they can be very unpredictable and not always think things through. That means that he can be extremely charming and seductive, but is not necessarily interested in settling down with one person. He's more interested in following his heart than thinking through what he's doing or making practical decisions. Knights move quickly, and if he fell in love with someone else, he could move on from Madison to someone else in an instant, and that would be a big negative. The Knight of Cups makes decisions based on his heart, intuition, and gut feelings. He can be very sensitive, which makes it tough to have adult conversations. He's also on a horse, so you can see that he's not very grounded, which makes him a bit like the page who isn't excited to be an adult. There were a couple of things I noticed about these cards. The first is that the knight is a compromise between the mature king and the immature page. I think the Knight of Cups could be a potential womanizer who is more interested in following his heart and maybe another part of his body than being in a long-term relationship with Madison. The other thing is that there is only one person in each of these cards, and that makes me think that the king, page, and knights are more focused on themselves than on Madison. It would be nice to see a card with other people, such as a 2 or 3 of cups, to indicate that it was a true partnership. If she wants a long-term relationship, I don't think that Madison should continue to see this boyfriend. Our second reading is about a custody battle. This question was posted by someone I called Rachel. Here's what she said, quote, "My son's dad is threatening to take me to court for full custody of our son, who is 8 years old, because he doesn't want to pay child support anymore. I have always had full custody. If he takes me to court, what will happen?" Unquote. I have posted a link to the entire reading below. For simplicity's sake, I will call the child's father Anthony. Card number 1, Evidence, is about the strength of the evidence. Rachel drew the Queen of Cups. Card number 2, Judge's View, indicates how the judge will view the case. Rachel drew the King of Cups. Card number 3, Verdict, shows the ruling or outcome of the case. Rachel drew the Five of Wands. It's interesting that we have the King and Queen of Cups. Cups is about love, and they are the mother and father figures of the deck. So these two cards remind me of a couple who were in love at some point. However, we look at them now and see that they're facing in opposite directions. They are also both on choppy waters, so I assume that emotions are high. In the verdict position, we see people fighting. It looks like the battle for custody will not be easy. The Queen of Cups looks at the strength of Anthony's evidence against Rachel. Queens are the mothers of the court cards and seen as very nurturing. Cups are about emotions. The Queen of Cups is generally seen as a very positive card and represents someone who is empathic, loving, and very concerned with the child's emotional well-being. Since Rachel says that she has always had custody, the judge would be looking at her fitness as a mother. This card would indicate that she's been a wonderful mother. The question is about the strength of Anthony's evidence against Rachel, and there are some negatives that we can look at. However, my feeling is that if these negatives were factually true, we would have seen more negative cards, such as the Devil or the Five of Pentacles. Anthony's lawyers might accuse Rachel of being too overprotective and not letting her son have enough freedom to grow up. However, the son is only 8 years old, so unless she wraps him in bubble wrap when he leaves the house, I doubt that would be true. Another issue is that Rachel might be over-involved in her son's life due to the detriment of her own physical or mental health. Honestly, I doubt the judge would see that as a negative unless she was too stressed or sick to care for her child, but I don't think that the Queen of Cups card would come up in that case. Finally, the Queen of Cups can be very focused on her internal world to the point that she ignores the practical aspects of raising a child, such as doing laundry, cooking meals, or driving him to school. I think that if Rachel has managed sole custody for 8 years and there aren't any CPS reports in the court documents, Rachel has shown herself to be a fit and probably excellent mother. Card number 2, Judge's View, indicates how the judge will view the case. Rachel drew the King of Cups. In this case, the King of Cups represents the judge. Kings were responsible for running the kingdom, so they're used to settling disputes and have seen and heard it all. The King of Cups is considered to be wise, mature, compassionate, and intelligent. He would be an excellent judge and make a fair and balanced decision in this case. Because the judge belongs to the suit of cups, he would focus on making a decision in the son's best interests, specifically in the area of his emotional needs. This is good news because other kings/judges might see it differently. The King of Pentacles, for instance, might rule for the parent who has the most money, or the King of Swords might rule for the parent who was the most intellectual or had the most education. I think the judge would give great weight to the fact that Rachel has been the sole caregiver since her son was born. He would look at the evidence that supports that she is one of the best mothers in the deck. She likely has glowing references to back up her claims. I also think that the judge would take into consideration the fact that Rachel has had full custody, and coincidentally, Anthony only filed for custody because he doesn't want to pay child support anymore. I can't imagine an emotionally intelligent judge ripping the son away from his mother if there wasn't a good reason. However, because the judge is balanced and fair, I think that Anthony will be able to maintain his visitation rights. The Five of Wands shows the ruling or outcome of the case. Based on the previous two cards, I think that the judge ruled that Rachel could retain full custody. However, the Five of Wands tells me that there was a lot of conflict surrounding that verdict. We see 5 people fighting. This makes me wonder if there are more people involved in this custody battle than Rachel and Anthony. Perhaps Anthony has a new wife or girlfriend, and maybe they're expecting a baby, or there are stepchildren involved. Or Anthony's parents are involved and pressuring him to get full custody because they want more to say in how their grandchild is raised. I believe that Anthony is appealing the ruling. His plan is to continue the fight. He's determined to win and happy to bankrupt Rachel with expensive appeals and more legal bills, if that is required. To summarize, let's go back to Rachel's question. If Anthony takes me to court, what will happen? The answer is that she will be found to be a very good mother and that the judge will rule in her favor. Unfortunately, that will not be the end of the story because there will be a lot of fighting after the decision and it will likely be appealed. In our final reading, we'll talk about the reversed King of Cups. But first, if you're getting benefit from this video, I hope that you'll take a moment to subscribe. It's free for you and you'll get notified when I post videos so that you don't miss anything. It will also help me to grow this channel. When the King of Cups appears in a reverse position, it can represent someone who is critical, indifferent, or pessimistic. It can symbolize someone who is not in control of their emotions. They could be insecure, intolerant, moody, cold, unstable, have an explosive temper, or simply not care about people. It can represent someone who thinks they know all of the answers without considering the facts. It can symbolize someone who uses love to manipulate people or words to hurt you. And finally, it can represent someone who does not make good, fair, or balanced decisions. I conducted this reading for a woman named Faith. She and her brother Joseph are responsible for the care of their aging mother, who is a widow and currently living independently. Like I've seen in most families, Faith is the one who communicates with her mother on a daily basis, takes her to medical appointments, and comes to her mother's rescue when she needs additional assistance. Both Joseph and Faith are married and have adult children. They both also work full-time in high-level jobs. Both live within 30 minutes of their mother. Over the past year, Faith has noticed that her mother is declining. For instance, she either forgets to take her pills or takes them multiple times because she can't remember what day it is. Although Faith grocery shops for her every week, her mother forgets about food in the fridge and isn't eating regularly. The mother is also confused when people call. She doesn't know who they are or remember what they've had to say. Faith's belief, supported by that of her mother's doctor, is that her mother needs to be moved to some kind of assisted living facility, and soon. Joseph, on the other hand, has very little to do with his mother. He calls her every couple of months and visits on special occasions. He doesn't believe there are any problems beyond normal aging. He accuses his sister of being alarmist and exaggerating how bad things are. After all, when he talks to his mom, she seems fine. This reading was to answer Faith's question, which was, quote, "Why does Joseph not respect my opinion that our elderly mother requires assisted living?" Unquote. For insight, we looked at Joseph's opinion of his sister in the past and present, and then what things will be like in the future. In the past, Joseph used his sister as the Queen of Swords. In the present, Joseph viewed his sister as the King of Cups, reversed. And in the future, Joseph will view his sister as the Page of Swords, reversed. In the past position, the Queen of Swords represents someone who is smart, capable, focused, and extremely ambitious. She faces the truth and speaks her mind, no matter how difficult or painful. The Queen of Swords represents an independent woman who relies on logic over emotion. That is how Joseph has always viewed Faith. He admired her intelligence, ambition, and logical approach to life. Joseph knows that these qualities have enabled Faith to become very successful. She's always had a knack for cutting to the truth and solving problems rather than getting bogged down by her emotions, which served her well in business. However, he longed for a sister that would give him a hug when he needed it, rather than pointing out his shortcomings and lecturing him about what he should do to fix the problem. In the present, Joseph viewed his sister as the King of Cups reversed. Recently, Joseph has grown to see Faith as a know-it-all who doesn't have any compassion for his mother. He believes that Faith's resentment of the time she spends helping her mother is keeping her from considering her mother's needs and other potential solutions, such as hiring a caregiver to help with her medication, meals, and cleaning. Joseph sees Faith as exaggerating their mother's issues so that she can get her own way and be relieved of the burden of helping to care for her. He doesn't see Faith as demonstrating even an ounce of empathy. From his viewpoint, Faith just wants to solve the problem, which is that their mother is taking up too much time and energy in the way that works best for her. In the future, Joseph will view his sister as the Page of Swords reversed. When the Page of Swords appears in a reversed position, it can refer to a person who uses their communication skills to spread untrue or manipulative information. This is how Joseph will continue to see Faith. He believes that she has ulterior motives and will continue to exaggerate their mother's issues to gain attention and sympathy. The result will create pain for his mother, who will end up in assisted living, despite the fact that Joseph doesn't think she belongs there. The reverse Page of Swords can refer to a person who is sneaky, spiteful, or vengeful. This is how Joseph will see Faith. Faith is being very cunning about making their mother look incompetent. The reverse Page of Swords can refer to someone whose know-it-all attitude is causing harm. Joseph believes that it's obvious that Faith's beliefs are harming their mom, who will not be happy to give up living independently. In addition, Joseph believes that, at some point in the future, Faith will regret manipulating the situation and putting their mother in assisted living. I'll be honest that Faith wasn't particularly happy with this reading, as it was very harsh towards her. I had to remind her that it didn't reveal the truth of the situation. It revealed what Joseph thought about her and gave her some insight about what was going on in their relationship. On a personal note, I'm at the age when I've seen this scenario play out many times with friends and relatives. The daughter or daughter-in-law is doing all of the caregiving, and the male relative thinks that he knows best. The question Faith asked was, why does Joseph not respect my opinion that her elderly mother requires assisted living? A better question would have been, how can I convince Joseph that our mother needs to go into assisted living? Well, this reading provided Faith with the information she wanted. All it did was create a bigger split in the sibling relationship without solving the problem, which is why choosing the correct question is so important. I hope that seeing the King of Cups in these readings will help you interpret it when you're conducting a reading. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share your ideas or experience. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.